I was traveling a lot, going to different colleges, speaking on different aspects of entrepreneurship, personal freedom, and so forth. A lot of libertarian, anarcho-capitalist conferences. And this was around the time that we were first starting Praxis. And I would go give talks on different aspects of entrepreneurial thinking or different aspects of, like the value of free markets and entrepreneurial theories of social change. And all of the students there, like every Q&A, man, they would ask me about this thing called Bitcoin. And I just had no idea what they were talking about, you know? But when you go to conferences like that, there are always like these nerdy, esoteric things that people are talking about. And it's easy to just kind of chalk that up as, one of those things. And so I remember the question coming up so much that I went home and I looked up Bitcoin, and the first person you see is a bunch of Andreas Antonopoulos talks. And so I remember bookmarking them. And then I started to, I met Jeffrey Tucker, and I would see him a lot on the teaching circuit. And for a while, we worked at the same nonprofit. We were both adjunct faculties at the same nonprofit. And I would talk to him a lot, and I would ask him questions, and he was really into Bitcoin at the time. But I still wasn't studying it. It was still kind of like this thing that people I knew and respected were into. Met Steve Patterson, got a copy of What's the Big Deal About Bitcoin, put it on the shelf, man, and was like, okay, that's one of those things I got to get to. And everybody keeps bringing it up. I keep saying, okay, that's one of those things I'm going to study one day, especially since so many people said it had like implications for, taking the control of money out of the hands of a central authority and facilitating more freedom for the world. And then I procrastinated for so long. And then we had the all-time highs of 2017. And that's when mainstream media start talking about this thing called Bitcoin. And I saw the price get nearly to like $20,000. And I just felt like this regret, because this was something that people had told me about, long before. And I just shelved it as this potential avenue of exploration. And I started to think to myself, man, if I had only taken the time to just read up on it, maybe acquire a few Bitcoins, I could be sitting really pretty right now. A lot of people talk about the pizza guy who spent something like 1,700, Bitcoins for pizza, and the regret that he felt. Well, maybe it wasn't that big, but in some ways it's worse, because when you're left to your imagination, you can tell yourself anything. And I was telling myself stories about like, oh, I would have bought a whole bunch. Easier to lie to yourself when when nothing's real, when you don't have skin in the game. And I tortured myself, man. I was so upset. And it was all about the missed opportunity money wise. And so at that point I said, well, even though I missed out on that, it's not over. If there's anything to this thing called Bitcoin, then even if I can't get rich from holding it, I'm sure that I can get rich by benefiting from living in a world where something like this wins. And if this is truly going to transform the economy like everyone says it will, then one of the best things I can do is acquire knowledge about it so that I can understand what's going to be happening in the world and maybe create some career opportunities for myself just by becoming financially literate. And so around that time, I started to look into it, and I'm having a lot of conversations with Derek McGill, with Isaac Morehouse, with Steve Patterson, picking their brains. And this is right at the time of the BCH BTC hard fork. And so I'm learning about the basics there. And because I'm hanging around with a bunch of big blockers, they're introducing me to Bitcoin from the big block perspective. And so it was always easy for me to look at everything that Satoshi said and Gavin said and Mike Hearn said from that perspective. And so I continued to just kind of read up on things. But then I still kind of had that mindset of like, I missed out and I got to find the next big thing. And so even though I was, siding with BCH, I was still very much seduced by the broad world of altcoins. And the opportunity to gamble on something and watch the number go up, right? And so I decided what I was going to do was I was going to, look at all these altcoins, and I would be intelligent about it. I would read the white papers, for them. I would look at the development team. I would check GitHub to make sure there were frequent updates, and I was going to find the next big thing. So I'm playing around with these altcoins and so forth. And I come across Daniel Krawitz's articles where he talks about altcoins are scams. And when I first read them, he had two of them on altcoins where he criticized them. And I first read them, man, I was pissed. I didn't like it at all. You know, it kind of made me mad, you know, and I didn't quite understand the argument, but maybe I knew it was true because I was really upset. But I continued to play around with altcoins, and I started to get excited about some of the solutions that altcoins were at least promising, even if they couldn't deliver. I was excited about things like Sonam and the promise of fault computing and a decentralized internet. I was interested in things like Sia Coin or things like GVT and what they were doing in the realm of asset management, Ethereum Lend, and what they were doing with, you know, crypto backed, you know, lending and things along those lines. And so I'm becoming attracted to all these different altcoins and the cool things they're doing. And there just comes a point as I continue to read where everything that Kraywitz had said about altcoins, it clicks. I just get it. I just realized that the tokenomics of these altcoins is designed for failure, whether these people intended it to be so or not. And I realized that Ethereum had scaling problems that were in principle unfixable. And I realized that everything that all of these altcoins are trying to do is born out of a fundamental misunderstanding of what Bitcoin was created to do. That everything that these altcoins are trying to do, that it was all designed to be done on Bitcoin. And so I started to shift my focus back to understanding the original Bitcoin. And around this time, you know, Unwriter had his article, The Resolution of the Bitcoin Cash Experiment, you know, which was the play off Mike Hearn's resolution of the Bitcoin, you know, experiment. And I read that, and then I started to follow people on Twitter who were in BSV because obviously the hard fork or, you know, hash war is happening. And I started to send private messages. It started with Ari, you know, $5 BSV Ari. I would send him a lot of questions and different cats in BSV, and everybody was really cool. They would answer my questions. They would give me articles to read. They would say, go watch this YouTube video. Go listen to this podcast. Make sure you go read up on this. And everybody was really hard on the white paper. They weren't trying to make it easy on me. They were like, go read the white paper. Like, I'm not telling you anything unless you go read the white paper and come back if you got questions about that. And so I read that, read commentaries on it, and I'm talking way too much. So let me try to wrap this up, man.
No. That's why we're here, man. I want to get to know you. This is great.
Yeah. But I basically got to this point where even though I knew and still know that I'm just a rookie and I've got a ton to learn, I got to a point where I felt confident enough saying, I don't need to study Bitcoin 10 years in order to know A from B, in order to know the difference between hot and cold. And I am ready to be honest about the confidence that I feel when I read the white paper and I read the words of Satoshi for myself. He's talking about something that was meant to be scalable, that was meant to be a commodity ledger, that was meant to have massive size blocks and everything that Bitcoin SB was talking about. And I didn't care one bit about the drama surrounding Craig Wright and the hatred surrounding Craig Wright. When I looked at what was actually being done, BSV struck me as the only blockchain community that was even trying to do, you know, what the white paper described. And so I guess you could say that's a whole lot of background. But when I got to that point, to me, that was the real beginning of my journey. That makes sense?